Today we're going to talk about the very best legendaries in Rise of Kingdoms based off our experience battling for over a week straight in Kingdom versus Kingdom. So if you're looking for the very best legendaries to invest your sculptures in starting from April into May of 2021, you are in the right place. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming and we have spent a ridiculous amount of time battling, which allows us to really give some good advice, I think, on which commanders are the very best in the open field, which ones are the very best for rallying and defending objectives, and of course, in all of our long-form videos, we have timestamps in the description so you can jump to whichever portion of the video you're most interested in. But before we begin, I need to give a huge thank you to our sponsor for this video, which is Infinite Galaxy. Let me give you a peek at this game. In Infinite Galaxy, you explore the vastness of space to claim territory, battle fierce foes, and yes, take down other players. In this game, you'll be building a collection of flagships. You'll use those to wage war with your collection of war ships, whether it's the sprightly frigate, the mid-sized destroyer, or the massive cruisers. Your fleet will go head-to-head against opponents in space combat and in the campaign. But it wouldn't be much of a fleet without its crew. Your crew will help define and customize the way that your team works together as you build out the most amazing space station the galaxy has ever seen. Building up and constructing things from your headquarters to your military center to make sure you're ready for the next encounter. Along the way, you'll do a ton of research, advancing your space station's capabilities in both situations against players and in situations that help you build up and get stronger. What happens next in this game? Well, my friends, it's entirely up to you. A huge thank you again to the creators of Infinite Galaxy for sponsoring this video, which really does support the channel. We're enjoying all the new stuff that they've been adding to this game, including new VIP, and there's new features like new flagships being added to this game all the time. I'm very hyped for the direction this game is headed and what might be coming next. If you want to join us, you can play with us in Nebula 13 or check out our Discord, discord.gg/Chisgule, and find a group to play with. Use the link in the description to download the game, and that will support the channel. And thanks for checking it out, and thank you again to our sponsor. So let's get started in actually reviewing these commanders. And for those of you who are new to my commander review videos, where we're doing our tier list, I'll put a little chart up on the screen showcasing how we rate the commanders, starting with S is like the super awesome commanders, all the way down to, I suppose, an F. And this ladders directly into my epic tier list, or at least I try to make these things match up kind of nicely so that there is a way for you to compare legendaries to epics, although really, like, you know, Sun Tzu is the best and just kind of stick with that. So all of that said, today we're not actually going to do a detailed review of the best commanders for city defense, barbarians and forts, or even rallying cities. All that information is going to be at the end of the video when we have the full list available. What I want to start with is the things where there's actually some changes. Things like what's good in the open field. Wink, hint, Trajan is really good, and people may not like that, but we're going to talk about the open field. We're going to talk about rallying objectives, and we're going to talk about defending those objectives, as well as Canyon. Those are the 4 areas where we've seen changes from the previous times we've released this list. So let's get into the open field. And the big shocker that you'll see is that there's a new king of the kingdom here, and that is Trajan. I've rated him at S+. I think he's better than Alexander the Great for the open field. Yep, we're going there, baby. I know that people are like, oh, but buffing. All I want is my stats to be... I don't understand the anti-team player mindset that a lot of players, I don't know, seem to hate on Trajan for. But, like, look, Trajan's a monster. He's amazing because he is enabling a commander that is relatively weak in the open field, like Ethelfled, to be a beast. I mean, yeah, Ethel's good, but if you make her primary, she's just going to get focused and obliterated. You can't effectively focus down a Trajan. He gets so tanky so fast. Trajan is, in my estimation, the single most impactful commander in the open field right now. And I generally rank commanders highly that have March speed, he has it, that do buffing, which he does in a major way, that are going to do area of effect damage, which he doesn't do, or do debuffing, which he also does. He's got a debuff that makes the target take more damage. He's friggin' amazing, and he's tanky as heck. This is my favorite commander in the open field right now. I've also, by the way, bumped Ethelfled up to reflect the fact that she's now got a top-tier combo that you can put her in, okay? The only other change I made to the open field listing is I actually bumped down Edward of Woodstock. I mean, the dude, unfortunately, unless you're using Tamaris as the secondary, is just kind of a punching bag. His active skill just takes too long to fire off, and it is problematic. Now, the new commanders clock in, by the way, at, in my estimation, and this is probably a little low, but I'm maybe being a little cautious here. But Jadwiga, I'm giving her just an A+ in the open field. I think she's going to be okay, but not game-changing. And a commander that I do think will be more game-changing. And she might be good, by the way, in Ark of Osiris. But this dude right over here is going to be a beast in the open field. He's the first AoE Cav commander, the first legitimate AoE Cav commander, and it's a defense reduction debuff as well that he's doing. Yeah, I gave him an S. He might be an S-, he might be an S. He's not going to be an S+. It's just not that good. I think he's very strong, though, and I'm optimistic that this will be his primary role, because when we switch gears and talk about rallying objectives, man, we have spent a lot of time rallying stuff. Right now, the meta pairings are going to be Nebu with Esong or Ramses with Nebu. And yeah, Esong is premium. I'll just say that some people poo-poo on Esong, but he's a beast. And if you use Nebu Esong, you won't be disappointed with the results. Nebu with Esong and Ramses with Nebu are fantastic for rallying right now. And Nebu holds the S+ title. He had it before, and he's got it still, because he's just the linchpin to the Archer Rally combinations, and there are two of them, as I was saying, that are both really quite spectacular as I struggle to find Nebu. Where are you hiding? Okay, there he is right in front of my face. Now, in terms of other commanders that are good for rallying, I was really surprised to see in Ark of Osiris recently that people are rallying with Trajan Herald. I don't think that's going to work in KVK. I think they're just doing that because you can reinforce with anything. I don't even know how good it is. But I bumped him up to an A+ for that. Everybody else, their rankings have gone down from where I estimated them. So, for example, Guan Yu was an S. I don't know, man. The new Season of Conquest tech, maybe Guan Leo was a thing before, but it isn't now. And maybe a Guan Leo or Guan Herald or Guan whatever could take down a Garrison, but as long as there's equivalent gear on both sides, I'm very inclined to believe the Garrison is always going to win. The Guan infantry combo, whatever, Guan anything, is just not going to be as good as the archers are. I bumped Cyrus down. People were using him, but it was less premium than the other archer combos that I've already mentioned. I bumped William down. I mean, maybe Chandragupta William was a thing in the past, but it isn't good now. I can tell you that much. William anywhere in a Cav rally is not good right now. And I mean, maybe if you're multi-rallying, maybe, but I don't think so. William is just very weak on the rally scene compared to Chandragupta, who still holds a role, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so I bumped down almost every commander. I mean, I don't know why I had Charles Martel at like an A+. I made him an A. Yeah. I had Moctezuma as an S. I was optimistic that maybe there's something he can do in like a multi-rally context. Nobody's using him that way. I bumped him down a little bit too. I guess I did bump up Alexander the Great a little bit because the Alex Herald combo is worth mentioning. That rally can't tank for anything. If you make it tank, it's going to tank itself. It's going to get wrecked. Okay. But the Alex Herald combo, I thought was actually pretty decent as an additional rally, a second rally, when some other rally is tanking. I do need to talk for a moment about this commander over here, XY, who we thought was going to change the rally meta, and they don't. They're the best Cav option you have, and it's still not a great option compared to the archers. I think that XY is... I mean, we watched rallies last night, and I'll have a card up in the top if you want to see this. with Khan. We watched rallies with Chandragupta, with William. I mean, we watched a lot of stuff. We didn't see Saladin, weirdly enough. I think Saladin with this dude could be pretty decent. But my general sense here is that he's strong, but he's not backbreaking. So I've got him at S- for rallying objectives. I think he's just okay at rallying objectives, and he's not as good as the archers that are already at our disposal. It's an archer meta, folks. And it's also, by the way, a garrison meta. So whatever you think is decent for a rally, it will barely hold a candle to the garrison. Now, when it comes to defending objectives, look, Zenobia is a beast. People were actually trying to, like, jam on me a bit and dunk on me for, like, Chisgule, you're overhyping Zenobia. Bruh, no we aren't. She's an absolute monster, and she's the linchpin. Zenobia, anything, and stuff the garrison with troops, and you win. Okay? No, not Zenobia City Keeper, but, like, Zenobia E-Song. I bumped up my E-Song rating for Garrison Captains, because, like, we had people with no-tech Zenobia E-Songs dunking on rallies. It was gross. Zenobia anything, folks. Any Garrison Captain, and you're good. So, in terms of Garrison options here, Zenobia is a beast. Wu Zetian coming into favor again with these archer rallies. I bumped her up to an S-. I moved down Theodora, because the real combo here is Zenobia plus YSS. My goodness, they are just monsters. The YSS AoE damage is a beast. It's so good. And the way that they count garrisons and rally capacity is kind of weird. They look at the total amount of troops that are in there, including the ones that are injured. Okay, so that means that if you have a bunch of old marches that are injured, you can start a fight in a garrison below 50% capacity, even though you have a full number of troops in the structure and you couldn't literally put another troop in there. So it'll count it as less than 50% of troops remaining, even though you're over 50% of troops. So you just get some really amazing effectiveness from your YSS as a secondary to the Zenobia. And it's honestly, it is a tier above. Zenobia YSS is the garrison meta. It's just beast. Theodora is great for cities because for the start of the fight and hopefully the majority of the fight, you're over 50%. But she's just not amazing for garrisoning in a KVK context. And I even max leveled her for a backup situation where I'm garrisoning one thing on the other side of the earth and then they rally my city. We'll see. One day I might have to use that. Now, I have bumped up Attila and Takeda. I was kind of astonished that you can put Attila Takeda in a garrison and it's decent. It ain't bad. And what also was not bad, and I'm sure caught your attention from the very beginning, is Saladin YSS as a garrison combo. It's real. It's super real, and it's super effective, and it's not as good as the infantry meta, but it lets you mobilize your cavalry in the garrison, which for the time being, Saladin deserves an S-. It was shocking. The S is for the effectiveness and also how shocking it is. Now, I expect that Jadwiga is just going to be better than Saladin. If Saladin is good, then Jadwiga is going to be better. And so I fully anticipate that we will see an additional viable garrison, with Jadwiga being one of those options that will be available to you with YSS as a secondary. I think that's going to be really powerful. Not as powerful in my estimation as the Zenobia YSS, which is still going to be the top tier. I still think it's going to be really good for Arc. So I don't think that's going to be displaced. I just think there's going to be an additional option, which I think is kind of a nice thing, except the rally meta is, I mean, I don't know, man. You rally into anything, and you're probably taking a negative trade unless they just don't reinforce properly. Now, for Sunset Canyon and Lost Canyon, there are a few changes I made to these rankings, mostly just bumping down a few commanders. So the ones that still rise to the top are very strong. I think Esong is still the linchpin for it all as the very best commander in Canyon, but I almost put Trajan in that role. I'm not even kidding. I almost put Trajan in that role because he's a beast there, but the commanders that I bumped down are William. Also, I bumped down Cyrus. The reason that we moved these commanders down, by the way, William, it's just a little bit tricky to get his AoE to land. You just can't get that to work as much as I would like, unfortunately. Even when you really work for that, there's just going to be situations where your AoE doesn't hit, and then he's just not very good. Also, I felt, again, like Cyrus, is not amazing. He's not a tanky commander that belongs in the front line, but in order to get all of his skills to activate properly, he needs to be tanking in the front, and that's just a bad situation for him. That's this skill right over here, the 4th skill, that is just not going to activate if he's not being directly targeted by enemies, which you don't want him to tank. So he's just okay in that context. I also, by the way, have bumped down my estimation of Saladin in that game mode because, look, Saladin is just there to run with William, and I get that maybe a Saladin Takeda is actually pretty legit as an off lane in Canyon, but he's not as premium as the other commanders that we have at S-, okay? He's just not. I've also bumped Charles Martel down. Like, he's great, but compared to these other commanders, he's an S-, which leaves us at Esong and also Alexander the Great, Nebuchadnezzar, Ramses, Guan Yu, Artemisia. That leaves us with Constantine, Richard, Leonidas, Trajan, Ethelfled. Also, by the way, I think Zhang Yu is going to be fantastic in this game mode. I think XY is going to activate some serious cav damage, that AoE. Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot of potential for this dude in Canyon. I gave him an S. Also at S-, I've got Mehmed and Theodora, which have kind of interesting roles. But those, I think, are the very best commanders for Canyon right now. And we're in probably one of the toughest Canyon metas around. I haven't actually played Canyon with gear on in quite some time. My defense seems to be working pretty well, but that's because I haven't pushed rank, and I should probably be somewhere in the top 50. But when we get a look at the teams that are up here, I mean, all those commanders that we've been talking about are hanging out around the top, and this is an interesting combination here. High damage combo with the XY William pairing. I actually think that could be really interesting to see how that all works, but we've got a lot of experience battling against some of the spendiest players in the game, okay, in Kingdom 114, so we've got a lot of exposure to a really tough meta. Also, I mean, you got to give credit to the other Imperium kingdoms that we're battling against in this KVK for having just really tough Canyon lineups. These are just a few of what some of the, top teams are using, and there's a lot of cycling in those top ranks because it's just so hard to actually hold your rank in Canyon. So if we go now and we get a look at the overall picture for the very best commanders in Rise of Kingdoms, and I may overlay this like over my face cam here because there's just so it's become a massive diagram at this point. And if you want to see the whole thing, the link's in the description for my ROK toolkit where we update this on an ongoing basis. Here is what the overall ratings are. I still have Esong as the very best legendary in the game. The dude is just a monster. He's so good in so many game modes. It's undeniable. I've bumped up Artemisia. I had mixed experiences using her in the open field, but I still think she's worthy of a higher rating than I gave her. She's good in the open field for her instant proc damage. I don't love when she silences herself in the open field. That's actually often really bad when you're in sort of guerrilla warfare with people popping out of their cities and hitting you a couple times and then running away. And we spent a lot of time in our KVK having to deal with that. But when we were in big open field brawls that lasted a while, she was great for that. So I was really happy with her performance there. I also bumped Ethelfled up from an A+ to an S- because in the meta that we're in now, Trajan activates Ethelfled in a way that is absolutely spectacular. And I am so serious about that on my restart project, I went and I expertise Trajan and I used Trajan with Ethel, and I'm still using that combo in KVK on my restart account, which is 68 million power. Yeah, no, Trajan really turns Ethelfled into an extremely viable commander, which is why I bumped her up in the open field ratings as well. I clock Zhang Yu XY as an S. I think he's going to be really solid. He does play an important role for the rally meta in activating calves in a better way than we had before, even though calves are not great right now. And also, I think he's going to be really killer in the field, really killer in Canyon. In terms of commanders that I bumped down, I gave Edward the A+. I'm just really not happy with this commander in the open field. This has to be one of my least satisfying legendary investments in the game for sure. It's just not a commander I can wholeheartedly recommend. Even though if you use Tamaris, there's like a role for him, just let the bigger whales, and I'm a pretty big whale, but just let the other bigger whales go and fulfill that role, okay? And then Moctezuma, he might have a role here. I think he's underrated for sure in a lot of places, but he hasn't emerged as an amazing tactic. And I would like to believe that he's been around for long enough that if he was going to be a game changer, we would see that happen. I think the reality is that so few people have invested in him that we just don't know really what he can do. But at the same time, I'm pretty comfortable bumping him down to that A+. And you know, Jadwiga, she's a garrison captain. I think she might be fine in the field, but I just don't think it's fair to compare our garrison captains on the same scale. In particular, the ones that are garrison captains really kind of exclusively and aren't going to play a role in Canyon and Field and all these other things. And if Jadwiga emerges as a commander that is worthy of a rating on the same scale as everybody else, we'll do that. But for now, I gave her the N. That's a niche role, along with, you know, Zenobia, YSS, Theodora, Wu Zetian, Charlemagne. They really kind of have one thing they're doing, and that's defending stuff. Jadwiga, I, by the way, gave her an A+ for defending cities because I mean, she's really kind of focused on calves, right? She gives a lot of calf stats. It's fine. I'm just not excited about it. She doesn't have AoE. That's not very exciting. She takes extra damage from certain unit types, which is a little weird. Extra damage from infantry. Also, by the way, she gets rage when you take skill damage, but Attila Takeda don't do skill damage. That's the meta for rallying cities. You just use your Attila Takeda. It's like the best way to activate your calves in KVK right now. So I'm just... I think she's going to be fine for city defense, but I think her main role is going to be giving you a cav garrison option that's better than Saladin YSS, and it's going to be pretty strong. Now, I'm sure by this point you've noticed that there's like over 100 different ratings that we're giving in this video, so we might have missed on something. Let us know down below in the comments if you think something is perhaps slightly off or needs an adjustment. It's entirely possible. And if you found this list helpful, do me a huge favor and throw a like on here. That really does support the channel, and it's 100% free to you. Also, consider joining our Discord server, where we've got a huge community of over 20,000 folks gathered together chatting about Commanders and Rise of Kingdoms and Infinite Galaxy. It's a great way to keep up with everything that's happening in the Chisgule Gaming community. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. Until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom.